All right, gearing up for a land surveyor interview. That's great. We've got some really cool resources from RoleCatcher to help you prep.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Career guides, interview guides, and
Let's
even...
hold on. Their AI tool too, right?
You bet. That AI can really fine-tune your answers.
Having the right tools can make a world of difference when you're job hunting.
Absolutely. So, before we jump in, what does a land surveyor even do?
Right. Good point.
I think some folks picture someone with, like, a compass and a map,
Yeah.
but it's way more high-tech these days, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. It's gone way beyond just pointing and saying, that goes there.
Right.
You're using lasers, GPS, total stations,
By now.
all sorts of advanced equipment to get those super precise locations and measurements.
So it's pretty important work then.
It's crucial. This is the groundwork for construction, architectural drawings, engineering projects, you name it.
They're making sure everything's built in the right spot, safely and accurately.
Exactly. It all starts with them.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Oh.
Okay, so speaking of getting things right, that RoleCatcher AI tool seems like a pretty solid way to start prepping for an interview.
It's really something.
How does it work?
Well, this AI actually digs right into the job description,
Oh, wow.
pulls out those key skills and keywords that the employer wants,
I see.
and then it helps you tailor your resume and your interview answers to really hit those points.
So it's like having a coach who knows exactly what this employer is looking for.
Spot on. It's all about giving you that extra advantage. And get this, it even gives you feedback on practice videos to help you polish your delivery and really nail that interview.
That's amazing. Okay, let's dive into some common interview questions you might run into for a land surveyor role. I bet the first one's going to be something like, tell us about your experience in land surveying.
It's a classic. And it's your chance to show off your skills and experience, make them relevant to that job description.
Right.
Remember that AI we talked about? Use it to figure out what the employer's after and tailor your answer accordingly.
So don't just list every project you've ever worked on.
Right.
Really focus on the ones that showcase the skills they're looking for.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to get specific. Talk about the types of surveys you've done, the equipment you've used, the problems you've solved, the results you've gotten. Whenever you can, try to measure your achievements.
Measure them.
Quantify. For example, instead of saying, I surveyed a big construction site,
Okay.
you'd say, I accurately surveyed a 50-acre construction site, making sure those building foundations were placed exactly where they needed to be.
Oh, I see.
See the difference?
Yeah, those details really make it come alive. Okay, what about questions on new technology? I feel like the surveying field is constantly changing.
Absolutely. An interviewer is going to want to know you're staying current. They might ask something like, how do you stay up to date with all the new technology and methods in land surveying?
So it's not enough to just say, I'm good with tech. You've got to show you're really committed to learning throughout your career.
Exactly. Talk about specific technologies you've learned or ones that you're excited about. Mention industry publications, conferences you've gone to, online courses, anything that proves you're on top of the latest trends.
Be genuine about it, right?
Yeah.
Show that you're really into it.
Definitely. And even better, try to tie it back to something in the job description. If they're looking for someone with drone surveying experience and you've been taking courses on that, highlight it.
That's smart.
Moving on, let's talk about a question that's all about precision. How do you make sure your work is accurate? This is huge for a land surveyor.
Accuracy is everything in this field, isn't it?
You got it.
It's not just about being detail-oriented. It's about having those systems and processes in place to catch errors before they happen.
Exactly. So when you answer this question, walk them through your process. Talk about double-checking measurements, calibrating equipment, using multiple data points to verify your findings, maybe even having your own quality control system.
You're showing them you're not just winging it. You're actively trying to get it right.
Right on. And don't forget about real-life examples.
Oh, right.
If you can share a story about a time you caught a mistake before it became a problem, that's impressive.
Good point. Okay, now for a question that tests your people skills. How do you handle difficult clients or stakeholders during a surveying project?
Oh, yeah.
Let's be honest, not every project goes perfectly smoothly.
That's life, right?
Exactly.
This question is all about measuring your communication skills and how you solve problems. Focus on listening, understanding different perspectives, and finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
So it's not just about being right. It's about finding a solution that works for everyone.
Right. And once again, a real-life example is going to make your answer much stronger.
Okay.
Share a time when you had to navigate a tricky situation and got a good outcome. What steps did you take to get there?
Good advice. Okay, now what about deadlines? Unexpected changes. I feel like construction projects, especially, are known for tight timelines. And things rarely go exactly as planned, do they?
That's for sure. So be ready for something like, how do you handle tight deadlines or unexpected changes?
This is where organization, flexibility, thinking on your feet all comes into play.
You got it. Highlight your ability to prioritize, adjust, and find creative solutions.
Right.
And you know what makes your answer even better?
Right.
A real-life example. Tell a story about a time when you managed a project with tight deadlines or unexpected changes, maybe both. What strategies did you use to stay on track?
Great advice.
Now, there's one more thing I want to highlight. The RoleCatcher Career Guide really emphasizes having a portfolio for land surveyors.
Oh, that's a great point, especially when you're earlier in your career.
Yeah.
A portfolio can really show off your skills and experience.
Sure. It's like a tangible way to demonstrate your abilities.
Right.
You could include photos, diagrams, case studies of projects you've worked on, anything that gives a visual representation of your work.
That's fantastic advice. Okay, I think we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We've talked about what a land surveyor does, how that RoleCatcher AI can help you tailor your approach.
It's a game changer.
It really is.
Uh,
And we've tackled some of those common interview questions you're likely to hear,
the basics.
but there's more to come.
Oh, yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Welcome back to our Land Surveyor interview deep dive, ready to tackle some more questions,
Let's do it.
so you can walk into that interview feeling confident and prepared.
All right, let's jump right in. We're going to focus on those trickier questions, the ones that really test your knowledge, your experience, your problem-solving skills.
Perfect. How about this one? What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced as a land surveyor?
Oh, that's a good one.
Seems simple enough, but
It's kind of a trap.
Yeah.
You don't want to just dwell on negativity or complain, but you also don't want to pretend like everything's always been easy.
so how do you find that balance?
Think about challenges you've actually faced on projects. Maybe it was tough terrain, unexpected weather, equipment breaking down, even disagreements with team members. Pick examples where you were key to overcoming the obstacle and highlight the skills you used to do it.
So, for example, you could talk about a time when you had to adapt your surveying methods because of a sudden storm,
Exactly.
or when your equipment malfunctioned out in the field and you had to figure out how to fix it.
Exactly. Focus on the positive. What did you learn? How did you grow as a professional?
Okay, let's move on to a question that tests your knowledge of the rules and regulations in the industry. How do you stay current with changes in land surveying laws and regulations? This is a big one because those regulations can be really complicated and are constantly evolving.
Absolutely. They want to know you're committed to staying informed, upholding those professional standards.
So how do you demonstrate that?
Talk about your resources. Do you subscribe to industry publications? Are you a member of any professional organizations like the National Society of Professional Surveyors? Do you attend conferences or workshops?
Show them you're actively engaged in the profession.
Right. And if you can mention a recent regulation change and how you've incorporated it into your work, that's really impressive.
Great point. Now, let's get a little more technical. A common question might be, can you explain the difference between a meets and bounds survey and a rectangular survey system? This one is all about testing your fundamental knowledge.
Yeah, a little bit of textbook knowledge is required here.
Right.
But don't freak out if you don't have the definitions memorized word for word. The key is understanding the principles behind each system.
Can you give us a quick overview?
Sure. So, meets and bounds uses physical features like trees and rivers, along with distances and directions, to describe property boundaries. It's like a treasure map.
I love that analogy. And what about the rectangular survey system?
That one's more systematic. Divides the land into a grid of townships and sections using baselines and meridians. You see it a lot in the western U.S.
So being able to explain the difference between those two shows, you've got a solid grasp of the basics.
Exactly. Now let's switch gears for a second and talk about those all-important soft skills, the things that can really make or break an interview. The RoleCatcher Career Guide puts a lot of emphasis on communication skills.
Well, land surveyors aren't just working with numbers and equipment, right?
Right.
They're constantly interacting with people, clients, contractors, government agencies, team members. Being able to communicate effectively is absolutely crucial for collaboration, problem solving, building those strong relationships.
I'm going to have said it better myself. You need to be able to explain complicated technical stuff in a way that anyone can understand. You got to be a good listener, be able to take feedback, and handle disagreements professionally.
So when you're asked about your communication skills, don't just say, I'm a good communicator.
No, no, no.
Give concrete example.
Right. Tell a story about a time you had to break down a surveying concept for a client who didn't have any technical background, or a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a contractor. Show them, don't just tell them.
Okay, what about problem solving? That seems like a pretty crucial skill for a land surveyor.
Absolutely essential. Things rarely go exactly to plan on a surveying project. You have to think on your feet, analyze situations, and find solutions.
So how do you showcase those problem-solving skills in an interview?
Share a story, a time you faced an unexpected challenge on a project and how you solved it. What steps did you take? What resources did you use? What was the outcome?
And remember to highlight those transferable skills, the ones that apply to any job, right?
Yep.
Critical thinking, creativity, decision-making, those are all valuable assets.
Absolutely. Now, before we move on, I want to touch on one more thing that RoleCatcher stresses: safety.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Land surveying can be risky. You're often working outdoors, sometimes in challenging conditions, and using equipment that could be hazardous.
Exactly. So be prepared for questions about your safety practices. They might ask something like, what steps do you take to ensure safety on a surveying project?
This is where you want to really demonstrate that you understand safety protocols and that you're committed to creating a safe work environment for yourself and everyone around you.
Right. Talk about wearing the right PPE, following safety guidelines, doing risk assessments, communicating hazards to others.
If you've had any specific safety training or certifications, definitely mention those as well.
Great point. Okay, I think we've covered some really important ground here. We've tackled those tricky questions about challenges, regulations, technical knowledge, communication, problem solving, and safety.
You're well on your way to feeling prepared and confident for that land surveyor interview, but we're not done yet. Welcome back to our land surveyor interview deep dive.
We're in the home stretch now.
In this final part, we're going to look at some questions that get into leadership, teamwork, and your career goals.
The stuff that helps them see you as a person, a potential colleague.
Exactly. So let's start with leadership.
Yeah.
Even if you're not applying for a management position, you might get a question about leadership experience or
Okay.
potential.
Right.
Something like, tell me about a time you took initiative or led a project.
Yeah, and this doesn't necessarily mean you had some fancy title. Think about times you stepped up, took charge, guided others.
Okay.
Maybe you volunteered for a tough task, mentored someone, or came up with a new way of doing things.
Right. Highlight those skills, communication, delegation, decision-making, problem-solving. That's all leadership.
All those qualities, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember to focus on the impact. What happened because of your initiative? How did your leadership help the team or the project?
Good point. Okay, teamwork. Land surveying's rarely a solo gig.
Nope.
You're always collaborating.
Always.
So get ready for a question like, tell me about a time you worked effectively as part of a team.
This is your chance to show off those people skills, your ability to contribute to a common goal. Pick an example where you were a key part of a successful team effort.
And talk about your contributions, the challenges you faced as a team, how you overcame them.
Yeah, highlight that ability to communicate, listen, collaborate, handle conflicts.
And give credit where credit's due, right?
Absolutely. Acknowledge your teammates' contributions. Emphasize that collaborative approach.
Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about the future.
The big picture.
Interviewers often ask about your career goals to gauge your ambition. See if your aspirations align with the company's vision.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Classic.
Right. So this is your chance to share your vision, what you want for your career. Be honest, be enthusiastic. Talk about your goals, the skills you want to develop, areas where you see yourself growing.
If you're thinking about specializing, say it. Aspire to leadership roles. Let them know.
And if you have long-term goals, like getting licensed or even starting your own firm, don't be afraid to share those too.
As long as they're realistic and fit with the company's opportunities, do your research, show them you've thought about how this role fits into your bigger career path.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. But before we wrap up, let's talk about one last thing RoleCatcher emphasizes. Practice.
Can't stress that enough.
You don't want to go into an interview cold. Practicing those answers will help you feel more confident, get your thoughts across clearly, avoid rambling.
And RoleCatcher's AI can be a huge help here.
Definitely. It not only helps you tailor your answers to the specific job, but it also gives you feedback on how you're delivering them.
Yeah. Use the AI to record yourself answering practice questions. Pay attention to your pace, your tone, your body language. Make adjustments. Keep practicing till you feel good about it.
And remember, the interview's a two-way street. You should have some thoughtful questions ready for them.
Shows you're genuinely interested.
Exactly. Ask about the company culture, the team you'd be working with, opportunities for growth, anything that's important to you.
Right. So there you have it. We've given you the knowledge, the insights, and the tools to really ace that land surveyor interview.
Highlight your skills and experience. Tailor your answers to the job. And practice, practice, practice.
And most importantly, be yourself. Let that passion for surveying shine through. Show them why you're the perfect candidate for this job.
We know you're going to do great. Good luck.
Best of luck.
That's it for this deep dive on Land Surveyor interview prep. Until next time.